they just put it in the chat function.
Yep. Any questions can just go in the chat section there.
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. Let's just see who's going to join us today. So I am joined by Emma Slade.
Hello. I can't see anyone yet, but I'm hoping. Will I be able to see them or not? What do you think, Paula?
Well, on some platforms it comes up and shows you, and on other ones it doesn't. And also there's a bit of a delay. There can be a 10-second delay.
Okay.
So, it's just as well we don't hear the audience, because if you tell a joke, you wouldn't hear anybody laughing for 10 seconds, which would be,
could be a bit disconcerting. Yeah,
right. So here we go. We've got somebody who's joined us. So if you're joining us, I'm here with Emma Slade. I'm Paula Carnell. And if you just chat in the chat box or in the comments, and then we can, say hello and we'll know where you're from. Last week when I did my talk about Bhutan, I had quite a few people from Bhutan join, which was wonderful. So, and you can just see behind me, I've got 2 beekeepers that I met, Naveen and Pretty. And then this was a poster that I did all about bees and honey in Bhutan that was on display at Appomondia, the big international bee conference last year. So, not last year, the year before, 2019. So, yes, it's going on. So I think if we make a start, so anybody who's catching up or joins us as we go, they can all go back and watch the beginning if they need to. So today I am really, really excited to be joined with Emma, or by Emma. And I first came across Emma because she wrote this book, Set Free. And when I went to Bhutan in 2018, on my way there, I wanted to learn as much as I could about Bhutan. And I like to listen to books. So I was looking for books that I could listen to. And there was 2. There was one about the setting up of Kuzu FM, which was really interesting. And then there was your book, which was completely different. And so when I finished the book, I then had to send an email because I was so moved by the book. And what is wonderful about the world of bees or the world of Buddhism, or when you're, everything is synchronized, you happen to be in Bhutan. So we met up, which was just fabulous. So what I'd really love today is if you would share with us your story, because it is an incredible story. And then we can talk a bit about bees, Buddhism, and and your bravery. And if anybody's got any questions, they can type them in, and then we can answer them later. So I'm going to share the screen so that we can see, because you've got some amazing photographs here. And I'll hand over to you then.
Okay, thank you, Paula. And for anybody who's listening and taking part today, thank you for taking the time. And I really love questions. So I think there's a chat function there, and I'm really looking forward to taking your questions. As Paula said, we're going to just go through a few slides because pictures often connect with people in a very simple way, and also a very profound way. And they're just going to be a mixture of slides around my story and then around Bhutan. And so Paula has put up the first slide here, which is purely to evidence the fact that I wasn't born looking like this. I was born in the West. Here I am running very enthusiastically along Whitstable Beach. And although I've changed a lot outwardly, this kind of very energetic female with a spade and a bucket is still very much here. And I think you'll probably find her again when you hear about the charity that I founded and the determination needed to run it. So yeah. Now from this little enthusiastic girl, I grew into somebody who went into finance. I went into investment banking I became a senior financial analyst. Here I'm working in New York, and I had a career that was in New York, London, and Hong Kong. And if I look serious in this photo, it's because it's not long after my father had died. And part of the reason to go into such a sensible career as investment banking was because I felt the need to grow up quickly after he died and sort of get a proper job. But this worthwhile endeavor, while it was very good, it was excellent, and I found it very fulfilling in some ways, not for the whole of me, but in some ways it was very fulfilling. But it all went a bit pear-shaped when I was in Jakarta in Indonesia on a business trip, and I opened my hotel door to discover this a gun was pushed into my chest, just in front of me, and this man pushed me back into my hotel room along with the gun and closed the door behind him. And so despite being in a very nice hotel in Jakarta on a business trip with nice boots and heels, etc., I strangely ended up, trapped in a room with a man with a gun. And that event really changed my life. And it changed my life, but it didn't change my life overnight because it took time to recover from it. But it did make me really question what I wanted to do with my time, what I wanted to do with my life. And I did decide that I didn't want to use my time in finance anymore. I wanted to find out really what was at the heart of me and what I felt would be the most meaningful way I could contribute to the world. And looking into those questions took many years. It didn't take just like a week or two. But eventually, having become a Buddhist, having done many years of yoga and meditation and inquiry and taught many people yoga and all kinds of things, I took my first trip to Bhutan. And on my first trip, I still looked like a regular person with jeans and hair and bracelets and, a selection of footwear. But it was this person on the right here. His name is Lama Nimasering. It was meeting him, even though I was in jeans and normal clothing, that was to have such a pivotal impact on my life. And it was him who a few months later actually told me to give up lay occupation and to put on robes and to become ordained as a Buddhist nun or monk, whichever you choose to use the term. And so this photo is him, my teacher, with me. And this really is the big change in my life, I think. Yeah. So Lama has a lot to answer for, Paula.
Oh.
Yeah.
When I went to visit Dochala, I was just so eager to bump into Lama, and I went up to that temple and I was just looking everywhere. And of course, because I'd read the book and I hadn't seen a picture of him, I was looking for a wise old Lama. And there was a young man in there, a young monk, but of course I didn't know enough about who he could be, and I didn't have the confidence to ask because I couldn't remember the name either from your book. So
lots of people who have read the book have now met Lama, and he usually offers them a cup of tea. If I tell him in advance, one of my friends who's read the book is coming to Dochala, he will usually invite them into his little house for a cup of tea, which is a really awesome opportunity if you get that chance. So next time, Paula.
Oh yes, yeah. I was very lucky because on my way back, the second time I went to Dochala, we my guides allowed time for me to meditate, and there's these meditation caves on the hill. Oh, and they were mind-blowing, and it was just wonderful to just sit there and meditate with this incredible landscape in the woods with all this moss, and it was just heavenly.
Did you have to take in a cushion or a blanket though, because it's quite austere, those meditation places? They're just stone, isn't it? I mean, they're not, it's not like it's all comfortable. So I hope your guide had a cushion or something.
Well, I had a scarf which I took off and sat on, so that I wasn't going to get too cold. But it was amazing.
So if you've been to Bhutan already, then you'll recognize this as Thimphu Valley. And Thimphu is the capital of Bhutan, although it wasn't always the capital of Bhutan. Punakha was the original capital of Bhutan. And so this is,
sorry, I'll go back. Yeah.
Right, no. So this is the most widely built-in area of Bhutan, being the capital. Oh, I've got feedback. Hope that's all right. And I'm here at an early stage of my practice when I'm still doing the preliminary 440,000 practices. So I have my green Jupakaju prayer book there, and you can see it's in the beginning pages, which means I'm probably just starting my daily prayers at this point, which when you do that practice, you have to practice every day. So wherever I was, whether I was on an aeroplane or in Bhutan or in England or wherever I was doing that practice every day. And that's probably why I look quite serious, I think, in this photo. So the next slide shows the original capital of Bhutan, Punakha. And this is the Zong in Punakha, which is a combination of a monastic and a civil building. And it's in this building that I had my formal ordination ceremony with His Holiness, the Dorje of Bhutan. And so this building has a special feeling in my heart, you can say, because I remember arriving there that day quite nervous with Lama, not knowing quite what to expect, and Lama being quite serious, and hoping that I wouldn't mess anything up, etc., etc. And so then taking my vows for life in this building in Bhutan. So
Amazing.
This is a general picture just to give people a feeling of the Himalayas. This is near Dorje where Lama is, and with the 5 colours of the prayer flags here, which have great significance, and also some white prayer flags, which probably are placed, usually white prayer flags are when somebody has died, and a number of white prayer flags are put up in honour of that person. So just to give you a flavour, really, of Bhutan.
I love the idea that the prayers that are written on the flags, the wind blows the prayers across the land. And, you know, I just think that's such a special thought.
Yeah, and they're often placed on bridges so that the words carry down on the water also. And so that's another thing. And that's why if you have prayer flags, it's not very auspicious to put them indoors because we don't get the movement of wind indoors. So if you are ever offered some prayer flags, it's advisable to put them outside where they can move with the elements. Yeah.
Oh, last year, when we first started lockdown, so literally a year ago, my husband decided to cut out our back fence so that instead of looking at the fence, we could then look through the field and to the view. And I did feel quite exposed, and I thought he was going to cut a little bit out, but he actually cut the whole length out. But what he did to compensate was he ordered a whole load of prayer flags and hung them across the gap. And it was lovely because then I felt that the wind was blowing these prayers all over our house and, you know, kept us safe for the last year. But then cows went into the field a couple of weeks ago and they started eating the flags. So I don't know what that means.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to check with Lama on the significance of that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
This is simply one of my favorite photos from Bhutan. This is from a temple near Paro, and it's these footprints left in wood from a practitioner. And when you encounter them, they really seem very magical. And there is something very magical about Bhutan. And I don't know, this photo from me just reminds me that Bhutan, I don't know, sort of, for me anyway, stretches my notion of what's possible or what is possible. I think that's the best way to put it. And this is one of those photos for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
This is just beginning more to think about the charity now. This is the village of Maritsamo in southern Bhutan in Chuka Zongkak. And this is where my visits to this village really were the impetus to form the charity. And this is where the particular girl, Nakum, who turned out to have cerebral palsy, this is where she was living when I first met her and where I started to think, okay, I need to do something to help here. Yeah. And this is just a photo just to This is actually in east of Bhutan now, a place called Sailing in the eastern part of Bhutan. And this is after the charity has been established, and because people know that I try to help particularly children with special needs in Bhutan, now I find when I go places, sometimes people will seek my advice or ask me to meet one of their children to see if there's any help that we can be for them. This is this case in the eastern part of Bhutan. Yeah.
Gosh. Can you tell us a bit about the disabilities in Bhutan? You know, we know of it as this beautiful country, and that the Buddhists are very calm and patient and loving and happy. So how does that fit with disability?
Well, I guess in any country, including the UK, Europe, etc., some humans are born with some uh, extra obstacles, isn't it? Whether it's they're deaf, they're blind, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. I mean, however you choose to characterize these things, they tend to make that person's life harder, and they tend to mean that Socks wants to take part here, Paula. He's taking part in the show. They tend to mean that that person is more vulnerable and needs parents or people to advocate sometimes for them, because sometimes they can't advocate for themselves. They can't express their needs sometimes, or if they can, they need to connect to people or authorities or organizations that can help them. And that can be quite tricky in developing countries, whichever developing country. So Bhutan has, particularly in the rural areas, made a huge amount of progress with education and medicine, etc., but is not, not there, not completely there yet, I would say. So there are children with disabilities in Bhutan who need our help.
Mm.
Oh, this is a photo of some of the children that we help in Thimphu, in the capital, at the day school. And this is us. The charity had provided new, safe, secure seating for all of the children. And so this is some of the children. There's also a couple of staff members there. And you can see just in the background, you can see the bus that we got for this school as well. I think it might be in another photo. This just to give you a flavour. This is the school uniform for the girls and the boys in the Thimphu school. Yeah, there's about 70 children in that special needs school. Oh, this is meeting the Duchess of Cambridge in Bhutan when they came to visit the country. And this is really a wonderful event and a great honour to meet her and her husband, although I was quite nervous meeting them. And I managed to talk to them about the charity, and that was a really nice day, I have to say. Yeah.
Because they're of a similar age, aren't they, to the King of Bhutan and his family?
Yeah, the King and the Queen of Bhutan, who now also have 2 children. And they walked up, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, they walked up to Tatsang, to Tiger's Nest, and saw some archery, and also met some of the children that we've been helping, and that was really great. There's the bus. Yeah, here's the bus. You can't miss it, can you? It's pretty bright yellow. And that was just a great day to be able to fundraise and provide them with a proper bus to pick up all the children. It's something we'd worked really hard on raising enough funds for, and I was really relieved when we could get it and deliver it to them. Oh, this is okay. So on the right here is Michael Rutland. He's the British Honorary Consul to Bhutan. I think you might have met him or spoken to him, Paula.
Spoken, yeah, or emails, yes.
Okay, yeah, and he's wonderful. He knows Bhutan inside out, and he was originally one of the tutors to the 4th King of Bhutan, because he's trained as a science teacher. I think it's physics is his speciality. And on the other side is the gentleman who was the foreign minister of Bhutan. There's been a change in government since, and this is when I got a small award from the British Prime Minister for my volunteering in Bhutan, and this award was presented to me in Bhutan. And so very kindly these 2 the representative of the British government and the representative of the Bhutan government came to be there, which was a really lovely day. And it was at the special needs school in Thimphu. That's where it was actually done, so all the children could see, and it was a really nice day.
Oh, and how long ago was that?
I can't remember, Paula. Don't ask me these kind of technical.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I don't know. It wasn't yesterday, and it wasn't today. That I know. But it was
a true example of living in the moment. And then...
I can't remember. Oh yes, this is the book that I've written, and Paula was kind enough to mention. It's a very human story, I think, and very relatable, I think, to anybody who's overcome obstacles or asked, what is it that really is important to me? How do I want to live my life, you know? And it was this book that really helped the charity. So much of the money from the book, it's all gone to the charity. And then a lot of people have been inspired by the book to wish to help us. And that's just been amazing, because I remember when I was writing the book and people were saying, well, no one really reads books anymore, and nobody's got an attention span to read a book. And I was like, really? I really hope not, you know. But sure enough, a lot of people have read it, and I get wonderful emails from people about it, which I just love to get.
Well, it definitely inspired me.
And you can see a bee. I don't know. Can you see a bee?
Oh,
is that a...
Oh, yes, on the back.
There's a little bee.
Yeah.
There's a little kind of dotted, and there's a bee, because there's little bees in the book, isn't there? And the little illustrations of little bees in the book. So
yeah, which of course I didn't see until I met you, because I'd listened to the book.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So
there's a whole bee thing going on in the book. So that was the book was originally called The Bee That Flew Out of the Jar. That was the original title of the book, and the publishers said this is too long a title. And I had an illustration for the front cover of this bee that circles around, and then it is freed from the jar. And they said, no, it's too long a title. You need something shorter. So it became called Set Free, which is still the same feeling. But the original title was The Bee That Flew Out of the Jar.
Oh, my goodness. And so why the bee? What's your connection with bees?
Oh, no, it's simply that in Buddhist metaphors and in yogic metaphors, the bee is quite important. And there's one particular prayer where it describes the tendency of the human mind to go round and round in circles, right? And not to know how to liberate itself, not to know how to free itself from suffering, from its own negative mental patterns, right?
Yeah.
So this is described as a bee that's going round and round in a glass jar, constantly attracted to picking up more and more pollen. And because it's so engrossed in picking up more and more pollen, it never looks up to see that there is a funnel in the jar that it could be free from, and then it could kind of roam anywhere, isn't it? It'd just be free to fly anywhere. And so this is used, the bee there is used as a metaphor for the human, whether they stay trapped or whether they become liberated. And so because my story was very much about set free, you know, being set free in so many ways, first from the hotel room and then from lots of other things, that it seemed a really appropriate metaphor. Yeah.
Gosh, amazing.
Oh yeah, this is just an example. In the East, we've mainly built a school for special needs children in the East in collaboration with a Bhutanese charity NGO called Draxo. And this is a school or vocational training center really for a wide range of children with special needs in the East. And this is the canteen and kitchen area that we built for the school. Now you're going to ask me, when did we build it? I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And before that, they didn't have a proper building to eat in or anything. So this was a big achievement, because I think this building was about £30,000 in all once it was completed. And so, you know, it's just when I started the charity, it was like literally I mended a roof and got some school uniforms for some children, right? So to get to the point where we're able to build really big school buildings is just nothing I'd ever imagined. So yeah, it's just how something from a very small seed can grow. So
oh, absolutely. And I think with this, I'm not sure if it is with this school or with one of the other schools, but you can sponsor a child, and it's something like £12 a month, which gives them 3 meals a day, every day for a month.
Yeah, that is for this school. That is for this school. So we have a campaign, I think, on the website at the moment. And what we're asking people to do is to do that as like a monthly donation. You know, you set up a standing order or a direct debit. And I think I'm not sure how many we've covered at the moment. I think we're about halfway there. I think we've raised for about half of the children. So we still need funds for another 30 or so.
God, yeah. But it's good. I think it's really good that you can itemize the funds, because quite often you put in some money and you have no idea what impact that will make, you know, and the value of your money in another country.
No, not with my charity. You asked me, I may forget dates.
you know the money.
I remember where every penny has gone.
Yeah, you're good on the numbers. There. Yeah. Oh, here we go. So here's the numbers.
Just a slide about the charity. So we've raised over £415,000 now, and because we've got a paid representative in Bhutan, but apart from that, everybody over here volunteers and pays their own expenses. Like I pay my own flight to go to Bhutan, etc. And so that means that 94 pence of every pound donated does go to the actual end projects, which is a really fantastic ratio.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see at the bottom there, we've also got a particular focus on helping blind students study music. So we've got a big project around that. And we're currently putting a lot of clean water filter systems in rural schools in Bhutan. And so that's something that I think we're putting about another 6 or 7 in the next couple of months. So just to give you some of the flavour of some of the things that we do. Yeah.
Wow.
And that is the name of the charity. And yeah, and I think you've kindly put the website link, haven't you? And so you can take a look. If you buy the book, there's a little paragraph about the charity there, and also how to contact me or send me an email or whatever, and I'll always answer any questions. Yeah.
Lovely. And as I can prove, you know, that it works. The email
works, because that's what happened to you, isn't it? I think it's very important that if somebody goes to the effort to want to reach out and talk to me about the charity or Bhutan, I do my really best to answer every email. Yeah. No, it's really important, and it's really, you know, it makes a special connection, and that's why I really love your charity, because you know where the money's going. I know about your passion to help the country, and when you've been there and you see what the needs are, you just want to help. You want to do whatever you can to help. And the Bhutanese are so loving and generous and kind anyway, you know. So I think it is difficult, because we can look at these countries and think that, oh, they're perfect, or, you know, but everybody needs help, and we are a global community, and there's, you know, just the infrastructure in Bhutan. And I think that's what really connected me with your charity, and specifically helping with disabled children, was that I'd spent my 7 years in a wheelchair, and it was for my 50th birthday that I went to Bhutan, because I was recovered and I felt on top of the world, and I wanted to go on top of the world. I wanted to be on top of the world to celebrate getting to 50 and no longer being in a wheelchair. But if I was still in a wheelchair, I couldn't have done that trip, you know. And so, you know, for me, imagining growing up with my condition in that country, it would have been so difficult. It's so difficult. And yeah, so I think, you know, it is that gratitude that I've been blessed to be able to recover. But I also loved
there, I visited the hospitals in Thimphu and in Bumthang, and how they combine traditional medicine with Western medicine. So you have this sort of shopping list of what you can choose. And the traditional medicine hospital and the university hospital in Thimphu is incredible, and I just love what they're doing. And with modern technology, we're able to stay in touch. So, you know, I've got a friend of a friend, you know, of my guide there, Damcho. He's actually a traditional physician in Bumthang, and it's great because we can message and I can ask him questions, we can send back. So I just love the fact that we have more connectivity nowadays, so we can stay in touch. So yeah. Oh, and I did what, I know this is really about you, but
not sure you're supposed to say that to a Buddhist nun, but yeah, okay.
Well, no, I wanted you to have that voice. But you mentioned about Paro and the wooden footprints. Well, I didn't see them, but I think I remember hearing about them. So are they special? You know, they're hidden away in a special temple.
They're not on the tourist route, I think. They're not difficult to find. If you come, you know, Dung Se Lachang across the bridge in Paro. Yeah, Dung Se Lachang there on the left side. You just go up a bit, and then it's on a temple dropping down on. Oh no, they're not there. No, they're near Parazong. I'm thinking of another one. Take that back. Go to Parazong, park in the little place where you put the car, walk down those steps, look to the right. You'll see a little wooden archway. Follow it down. Follow the path. Follow the path. Follow the path, and you'll find a little temple. Some cows down there also. And that's where the footprints are. Yeah, so it's not on the beaten track. I don't think usually tourists go there, but yeah, that's where it is. That's where it is. And a very traditional temple where the butter lamps are still right there in the shrine room, as opposed to being in a separate room. You know, because often they're in a separate room now for fire regulations, for safety reasons, etc. So. Yeah, it's just a really spellbinding thing to see when you see it with your own eyes, you know. And if I'm talking to children in schools, I often use it and ask them, how is this possible? You know, how did somebody leave their footprints so deep in the wood? You know, this sort of thing they love to think about. So.
Well, yes, you know, it does. It could give you a lifetime of contemplation, couldn't it? Meditations on the footprints. Mm-hmm. Well, on my 50th, I flew from Bumthang back to Paro. And I was met by my guides, and they took me to this temple, and I cannot remember. I have got it written down, but I can't remember which one it was. In Paro, but it was a really old one. And okay. I've got 3 tiny little video clips.
Is it Kitchu? Maybe it's Kitchu.
It could be in Kitchu, but they had a celebration, and it just so happened on my birthday was a kind of woman's celebration. And we went to this temple, beautiful flowers. It was, I mean, even though it's November, it was, you know, it had a beautiful garden with lots of flowers, and there was a courtyard garden. And when we went into the courtyard, we could hear monks chanting and drumming, and then there was women singing. And I was like, oh, there's women singing. Can I go in and see? And they were like, oh, no, you can't. You know, you're not a nun. You're not whatever. Anyway, my driver was a former nun, a former monk, Sonam. Mm. And he sort of disappeared, which he'd often do. And then he'd come back and say, you know, come here, follow me. And we'd get to see some amazing things. But he said, follow me. And we went through the temple where the men were, and then took me to this little room, which was packed with women and a yogi and a monk. And eventually, so we stood and watched, and I think they could tell I just wanted to be part of it. Mm. So one of them stood up, and she allowed me to come in and sit. And I sat for an hour while they sang and chanted. And I've got 3 little video clips that are only 10 seconds long. Yeah, do you mind?
Oh, yeah, I want to see, because I want to work out where this is. It sounds amazing.
Oh, it was mind blowing. I was crying. So that's the first one. Then and then I've got one last one with the trumpets, the bone trumpets. Oh, it makes me shiver.
I mean, it's hard to say where that, where that is, unless you can tell me the direction you were going. Was it outside Barrow or?
Do you know, they picked me up from the airport and we just drove there. But you know what? I'm going to have to put my glasses on. I've got my book. I wrote about it in my book, and it was just life-changing. And you know, while I was there with my eyes shut, trying not to be crying too much, you know, and they were all giggling, you know, they're giggling at me because I was moving the sheets along for the lady next to me, you know, so that as they were going through all the chanting. And here we go. Kitchu, yes.
Kitchu, I thought it was Kitchu.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the most ancient temples in Bhutan, Kitchu, very revered. Yeah, so outside Barrow, on the way to Ha or whatever, on that road on the left-hand side, Kitchu, I think is it 1371? It's really ancient.
It is really ancient. Yeah, it was just beautiful. And what was so powerful about the music and the chanting, and I was sat in there for an hour, as you know, which was just you know, just completely mind-blowing. And with my eyes shut and listening to the trumpets and the drums and the chanting, I was transported to be anywhere and everywhere throughout time, in the past, the present and the future. It was like I could have been on a Hawaiian beach, you know, with hula dancers. I could have been in New Zealand with Maori. I could have been in Africa. It makes me shiver whenever I think about it. It was so powerful. And it's almost like the music, the chanting, the words just get to the core of our souls and connect us to everything, everywhere. I could not have had a better celebration for my 50th. And I'm sorry for everyone back here that was thinking, how could she go off on her own for a 50th? You know, we want to have a big party and a knees up. But actually sat there alone and yet completely connected with everyone and everything I've ever been, you know. It was so moving. So I'm really intrigued because I feel that you now have that as part of you in your whole life. You know, you have that spiritual connection. So can you know, share a bit about the joy?
You know, I understand what you're saying, and particularly those very evocative sounds do connect with us on a particular level, don't they? Traditional kind of frequency, you know, isn't it? So I think, on a very broad, maybe general level, if you have a spiritual practice, then you just know that you're not just about what you wear, what you have, or what you do in terms of your occupation, that you have, that it's a very profound thing to be a human, you know, on kind of levels that I think unless you have some kind of spiritual practice, maybe it's hard to feel on a consistent basis. I think when every human will feel profound love and compassion at points in their life, these really amazing human qualities, but a spiritual path allows the more conscious cultivation of those, so that they are really expanded and stable. And so I think probably when you have an experience like that, maybe it's kind of wakes you up to, wow, there's a lot more to be human than I thought. You know, there's a whole aspect of being a human that I could explore, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Yeah. But also it takes away a lot of the fear, because you realize there is this, there's something that is more powerful than the day-to-day existence of life. And Yeah, and I think you talk a lot in your book about compassion and the journey of compassion, and that is very much something about Buddhism. Is that embracing compassion and developing it. So, you know, and I love the way you talk about it in your book, and the various, when you realize you need to develop compassion, you are given more experiences that challenge giving compassion. So, you know, it's really interesting, your story about compassion. So how do you feel you are on your path for compassion at the moment?
Yeah, I think that, you know, one of the big surprises about my life in the end has been that I am really interested in compassion. I am really, it seems to be like my specialist subject now. And I never thought that would be the case, because I didn't grow up thinking it's important to be kind. I mean, only in a very vague way, you know, only in a kind of vaguely, it's good to be a good person or contribute to a Blue Peter fundraising effort or something, you know. So for me now to have so much of my study or time or occupation very clearly linked to try my hardest to be a kind and compassionate person is a great surprise to me. I'll be honest, Paula. But it, in the Buddhist canon, as you said, we've got the two aspects of compassion and wisdom, these two qualities to cultivate. And so the Buddhist path is very rich in practices and philosophies around that. I think from a Western point of view, like, you know, kindness or compassion, I didn't find any, for myself, I didn't find any particular texts which explained what those things were, explained how to cultivate them, explained what the results of them were. I just thought, yeah, it's good to be kind. It's not very good to not be kind. That was about it, right? But from a Buddhist path, there's just so many practices around the developing a mind of stable compassion. And so, yeah, I continue with that. And from a Buddhist point of view, we will continue to come across obstacles. You know, we will continue to come across obstacles. We'll continue to come across things we find difficult, people who talk angrily to us, people who want to deride us. I mean, all kinds of things will happen, isn't it? And the willingness not to cling to those things and create more suffering, both for our own heart and mind and the heart and mind of others. The wish not to get stuck on those is very linked to a genuine wish to be full of compassion and to take those difficulties and sort of transform them through the wish to be compassionate. And so because the Buddhist texts study that in great detail, they study the obstacles, you can say, and they study the medicine of compassion in great detail. So you'll find many instances in terms of how compassion can be the most useful response in so many situations, even situations you would never imagine it could be a useful response in, you know, because ultimately an angry response from a Buddhist point of view may be justifiable to you, but it means you're once again caught up in anger, which is, from a Buddhist point of view, a little bit like self-sabotage, a little bit like self-harming in a way, you know. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't notice it. We shouldn't be aware of it. And I'm not saying to suppress anger. I'm saying to understand the causes of it and understand how compassion could transform it. So it's a big subject, but there's a glimpse into it.
No, I think you describe it very well. You explain it very well. Something that really I noticed more when I came back from Bhutan was the lack of anger. And I know there is anger in Bhutan, you know, but in my experience, the level of anger, there was potential for anger, but it wasn't there. So, for instance, on the twisty roads, and, you know, you could have to stop on the road because you couldn't pass, or because they were laying new tarmac, or there's monkeys. And I could hear so many people that I know in my head would be going, oh, come on, they need to get out the way, or we need to overtake, we need to go past. And there was none of that. It was just switch the engine off. Let's just sit and watch and laugh and enjoy the moment. And when I came back, we had been watching some box sets, you know, before I went, and I found I couldn't cope. I mean, I'm not a big TV watcher. I'm more of a film or a series watcher. And I couldn't watch anything with any violence or any anger because it upset me so much. I had become so calm and peaceful from my trip. And I think that is perhaps something that affects people who visit Bhutan, is you walk into this peaceful kingdom, and because the majority of the people there are peaceful and calm and compassionate and loving, you adapt to that. It would be so out of place to be an angry person. And perhaps that's why so many of us, when we've gone there, we just feel we want to go back. We want to keep that connection because it's such a special place.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bhutan has a strong notion of harmony. It emphasizes a state of harmony, a harmonious society, a harmonious being, a harmonious country. You know, from the four friends, you've seen the picture of the four friends, isn't it? Working collaboratively for the harmony kind of all. And I do think that that mindset has had a big impact and has not allowed too much example of anger to kind of slip in. I'm not sure how much is to do with the fact that there's a conscious decision not to be angry, as there is a very conscious positive decision to be harmonious. I think it's that harmonious thing which is such a strong impulse. Yeah.
And that's interesting, actually, because you're emphasizing the positive take rather than the let's not do this, but let's do something else instead. And that's interesting.
And that's a very Buddhist way to think about things as well. If you spend more and more time cultivating positive qualities, then all of those hours then that are not being spent on the negative qualities, obviously in the end, by default, the amount of time in negative qualities becomes very small because you're just spending more and more time cultivating the positive qualities. So if you positively cultivate a harmonious situation or a kind situation, then there's just not any daylight for the anger to come in, is there?
No.
It's just like that. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Now, if anybody wants
questions, I don't know.
I know. I could
fascinating questions.
We've got some lovely comments anyway. So Helen Rogers, she loved reading your book.
Oh, great.
And then there's another Helen Hermanstein Smith, who was saying about the prayer flags in my garden were that were eaten by the cows. It's going to go through into their milk.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so I like that. That's and then Dawa Tishang, really happy to hear about Bhutan and its peaceful talk. So that sounds like somebody who is actually from Bhutan, I would imagine.
Dawa is moon. So if it's Dawa, D-A-W-A is Dawa. Usually Dawa is usually a female, but who knows? Because the names, as you know, the pronouns in Bhutan don't have a particular gender. You know,
no.
Sonam could be a girl or a boy, etc., etc.
And I love, my guides were telling me about this when we were first in Bumthang and we went to the Zong and the temple, and there's a tiny little naming chapel. So when a baby is named, and they were telling me about the procedure and how there'll be a pot, and the monk who's naming will just put his hand in a pot and pull out the name, and that's the name of your child, which is why there are so many, names that are similar. And again, could be for either sex, which again, you think, well, that's quite forward thinking, isn't it? Now, where people we have a whole gender discussion. So they've already address that, you know, move on.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it took me a long time, well, not a long time, but it took me a while to realize that people have two names in Bhutan. Maybe your name is Dawa Sering or something, but that Sering that looks like a surname in English, your parents won't have that. There's no inherited name, right? So say if your name is, Dawa Sering, your mother might be, I don't know, Nima Singay, and then your father might be, I don't know, Sonam Gyamso or something, right? People have individual names. They don't have a family name in that inherited way, or only on very rare occasions, I think, with the royal family. Usually people don't have that kind of inherited surname. It took me a long time to work that out. I was like, okay, so there's your child, but your child's got a completely different name from you. Oh, that's interesting.
Gosh, yes. No, I really didn't know that. That is interesting. Yeah. And that explains a bit of confusion I've had with people. So, gosh, wow.
Yeah, because you get given that name and it's got two elements to it, and you're giving it by your monk or your lama or whatever, but it's not going to be the names of the father and mother.
Oh, I think it really shows the importance of sharing stories and of travel. When you travel and you learn about a place, then you come back and share the stories, because we can all learn so much from different societies and communities around the world. And if only, we do have this big global network now, we can all can communicate, but wouldn't it, I think we need to take the communication to a deeper level so that we can really get to the nuts and bolts of how other societies work, what does work, what doesn't. And these simple things like that you wouldn't even think to ask. We've just presumed that they would have a first name and a surname that's a family name. I didn't even question that. But yes, unless you'd ask the right questions, you'd never know, would you?
Yeah, and I think obviously it's wonderful. We're all connecting globally, and for me, the charity, etc. People spread the word about it in Facebook, and I don't know what, all over the place, and the book as well, and that's just amazing, because otherwise, how is people going to know, all these things that are going on, isn't it? So, yeah, I think it's, personally, I don't know how you find, Paula, but for me, it's important to get the balance right between outwardly communicating and peacefully being inward, so I have to get that balance right. Yeah, because now there's an opportunity to be outwardly connected like 24/7, isn't it? It could be, you never have any time of just being comfortable in your own skin, isn't it? And so still some need for balance there, I think. Yeah.
I think that's where I'm very blessed to have the bees, because I could very easily lead a very busy life, but I have to spend time with the bees. It's my work. And whenever I think, I'll go and do this with the bees and it will be an hour, it's always longer. And that's all right. That's good. And I find I slow down. And when I'm with the bees, you get this bee time, which expands. But you come away from it, from any kind of meditative or meditation activity, you then have new creative flow. You've got new ideas, you're clearer. And so then you are much more effective when you are being busy. So it is so important. So I'm blessed. The bees are saving me, because although I'm busy, the bee time slows me down. But now you very kindly said you would do a lovely meditation to end, which would be fantastic. Okay. But before that, I've got a copy of my book, Bees in Bhutan, and a copy of Set Free, which I am going to give away to somebody who's watching. So if you'd like this, then just put in the comment, put your name and say why you'd like which book. And if you want to buy either of the books, you can just go to either of our websites or go to Opening Your Heart to Bhutan. All the profits from Set Free go to the charity Opening Your Heart to Bhutan, and £1 from each copy of my book, which seems incredibly Pitiful, but that goes to the charity as well. But the pennies and the pounds, they all do add up. And so, of course, do look at the charity. And so just put a comment in here or tag somebody who you think should watch this and who would like the book. And then I'll just draw the names out of a hat. So I'll do the
I didn't know you were going to do that. That's so generous. Really, really fantastic. Gosh, yeah.
I think
your doors get battered down. Yes, please. I want this.
No, well, I think it's important that people read these stories, and it's your book really did inspire me, and you continue to inspire me. And one of the motivations for me to work hard and do well is so that I can support things like you're doing.
We really, really appreciate it, because nobody on a daily basis thinks they have to be kind. They think they can get away with not being kind, and they miss out so much happiness as a result. And from a Buddhist point of view, so much joy, happiness, and meaning and connectedness comes from this decision. And it often is a deliberate decision to be a bit kinder than you thought you were going to be. And you didn't have to offer some of your funds from the book to the charity, but you took that deliberate decision. Nobody made you.
No.
And so it's that conscious choice that even when you don't have to, you decide to be a little bit kinder. That's where it's at.
Well, it is. Well, I will have to mention there is somebody watching this from Singapore, and we have never met, but we have become real soul sisters through the internet. And there was an amazing connection through my son and her being sent a copy of my other book, A to B's, and her telling my son that his mum would like this book because it's about this lady who was ill and has B's. And then my son goes, "Oh, that is actually my mum's book." And it was amazing. But I'm wearing an angel scarf, one of 4 that this lady has, this incredibly generous soul has sent me, and they're wings. And they are just the most beautiful scarves. And I just, and so I've been wearing a different one every day ever since I've had them. And I just think it connects me to her in Singapore. It connects.
Does she make those then, or?
No, I think she
just has great taste.
Yes, amazing.
She just has great taste. Okay.
But I think the other thing about being kind is learning to accept kindness. Because when she sent me one, which I loved, and then she sent me another 3, and I couldn't open them because I didn't feel worthy of such a generous gift. And it took a time, and we were having lots of chit chats, and I couldn't decide who else I should give them to, because they were so special to me that if I gave them to someone else, I had to know that they would realize just how special they were. And then I realized that they're all different colors, and actually I needed all of them.
Are you sure need is the correct verb there?
Well, yeah.
I'm not sure about that. Yes.
I know you used to have a need for shoes, didn't you, in your former life? And I think mine is scarves. But eventually I will let them go, and they will be passed on.
No, it seems a lovely fruition of a friendship. Lovely.
Oh, it is. And so I long for us to meet, because I don't think we'll even have anything to say when we do meet. We'll just to be together will be amazing.
You can fly now direct from Singapore to Bhutan.
Oh,
yeah,
no, I didn't.
Direct. I don't think you have to go through Bangkok now. I think there's a direct flight now. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. You get a nice triangular route sorted out.
Wow. Yes, because I've never been to Singapore. So, yeah. And the gardens there, she's been sending me all these photographs of the gardens, the botanical gardens. So, yes. Yeah. Well, there you go. See, even more connections. Well, thank you very much for that. And now you're going to connect us even more with your beautiful meditation. Just and I don't want anyone to be terrified and think, oh my gosh, meditation. It's just a way of us being together in contemplation and compassion, and to be grateful for all being together now from all around the world that we are here today.
Okay, all right. So just lead us in that for a moment or two. Yeah. So thank you very much, Paula. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you.
So wherever you are, if you can allow yourself a moment or two of peacefulness. So you can put down your things, and it may help you to close your eyes just to settle into the sense of your physical body sitting where it is right now. So just allow yourself to do that for a moment. And as you become aware of your physical body, become aware of the wholeness of it. So you can see the shape of it, the head, the torso, the legs, as if you can see it in three-dimensional form, very whole and complete. So this is the wonderful human form that you have. It's a precious human body. So cultivate for a moment this profound feeling that this body you have is so precious. You're so lucky to have been born in this way, with this form. And seeing this clearly now, then you can take your attention to your low tummy area, low abdominal area, and relax that area. If you find it's a little bit tense, just take a moment to relax it. And then in the low tummy area, it's most easy to feel your breathing, the breathing in and the breathing out. And if you can rest your mind for a moment on that, then the mind will naturally begin to quieten. And with this quieter mind, you can just ask yourself, what are the qualities, the positive human qualities, which I wish to cultivate in this life? And when you think of those qualities, think of the number of beings which would be helped by you cultivating that quality. And then take a couple of deep breaths slowly in and out. Seeing even more clearly now just how precious you are. Good. And then you can open your eyes with clarity. And now you have to continue living your life based on what you've understood from that practice. All right, Paula.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. I just hope you couldn't all hear my stomach rumbling.
Oh, do you need to run to the fridge?
Yes, yeah. Well, the honey pots, I've got honey here. Always having honey. Oh, well, thank you so very, very much. And I'd love to come on one of your retreats. So as soon as you're doing your retreats, you'll have to let me know, and I shall.
Yeah, I have a retreat in November, but it booked up in 1 week. But there's a waiting list. So if you want to go on the waiting list, then you can email me. But I'm doing 1 weekend in November retreat.
Gosh. Okay. Right.
So I will have to look on the website, and you can go on the waiting list because, you know, one never knows in this world right now.
It's meant to be. It's meant to be. Oh, thank you so very, very much. And I do hope everyone will connect with you, connect with the charity. They can find you on Facebook. And if you're watching on replay, thank you very much. And well, just lots of love to everybody. Have a wonderful evening, morning, day, wherever you are in the world. Life, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, let's not limit it. Have a wonderful life. All right.
All right.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.
Well.